and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate, brought to you by Fantasy Focused and the Original Hooters. I am Sam Holt, joined as always by my wonderful co-host Derek Tate. Derek, how are you?
I am wonderful, but you said good morning. It's afternoon over here in Cadillac, Michigan.
My bad.
But that's why it's okay for me to start drinking, because it's the afternoon over here. It's like 1 o'clock.
Yeah, 100% okay to start drinking. And I totally would just start drinking anyways because it's Saturday. I don't mind, but I am still doing my intermittent fasting. So I'm not supposed to eat anything until 1 o'clock, which makes me sad. But you can drink for me, right?
I can drink for you. I mean, I'm drinking my calories today to start off. So.
There you go. That's okay. Let's roll into it. I mean, how are you handling all of the post-draft news, by the way? I mean, I know that, we were all building up for the hype for the draft, kind of struggling for things to talk to for a minute there. And now we had the draft, and now the speculation's over. We have our landing spots. Do you feel more at home? I feel more at home knowing where places are, where people are going.
So it was hard to come out with rankings in particular for how to feel when it comes to, and even like dynasty drafts. If you were doing like a dynasty startup like we were here at Fantasy Focus, a little tough to feel confident after the top studs first 2 or 3 rounds, because their situations could change so drastically via free agency and the NFL draft. But now I'm getting the warm and fuzzies. I'm getting all, I don't want to say horned up, but I'm getting all jazzed up about where to actually feel good about certain players heading into the upcoming season. So I'm ready to go. Absolutely. I feel a lot better, a lot more confident, sticking my flag in the ground to say I feel X way about this player.
It's awesome. And thanks for joining us, guys. Please don't forget to put any questions you have at all throughout the show in the comments, and we will get to them as soon as we see them. Nick Bird, thank you for joining us. He is already 2 ciders in, so you are not alone in drinking. That is awesome.
Drinking word is quarterback today, or QB, either one.
Either one. That means it's going to be quite a morning for a lot of you, as we are focusing on quarterbacks today. A little bit of news. Jags did decline the 5th-year option on Leonard Fournette. We kind of all saw that happening just because obviously they were trying to trade him for quite a bit. Your take on that?
No shocker. So I'm actually hoping that Leonard Fournette gets traded, because has there been a running back that has faced more 8-man fronts to start their career than Leonard Fournette? I actually love the pick of Laviska Shenault Jr. I just don't know what to feel about Gardner Minshew. I mean, we have no idea. I don't even know where the hell to rank him. I like some of his options. I like they're going to be playing from behind pretty much the entire damn season. But, Fournette, it's clear that they don't want to move forward with him. So set him free.
Yeah, set the little bird free. Let us all enjoy Leonard Fournette on another team. Wow. But I feel the same way about Gardner Minshew. I mean, we have faith in the mustache. I do not have faith in the fantasy value there. What up, Will Jenkins? Thank you for joining us. I love Will.
Willie, what up?
And then obviously we did see the Bengals officially release Andy Dalton. Kind of saw that coming. I just feel bad that they let him go so late. It kind of messed with his options for teams to sign with.
Same thing with Cam Newton. So, in particular, Andy Dalton has a much better chance of finding a team because he doesn't have the resume that Cam does. More of a traditional pocket quarterback that can come in and give you veteran level production. So, I feel like he'll find a home, but it is still something where once especially post draft, teams have already addressed most of their needs. So it's going to be probably an injury or just a very, very bare bones 1-year deal for Andy Dalton on the open market, because him and Cam Newton are still out there. It's Jameis Winston is the only one that actually signed a 1-year deal with the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, which was also a very interesting deal, and we can get into that a little bit now if we want, before we go into the full dynasty and all rankings. We want to talk a little bit about rookie quarterbacks, where we rank the top 3. We want to talk about our quarterback rankings as we're all going into more drafts. I don't know how many drafts you're in. I'm in 2 active ones right now. It's making me sweat. There's so many. I don't know who to take when, where, but, I'm still putting together amazing teams because that's what I do. So anyways.
Is that a humble brag or was that just a brag?
No, it's just a brag. Cheers. Cheers to that. But again, guys, the drinking word is quarterback. So if you hear it, go ahead and take a drink. I will try not to remind Tate too much because I want him to hang in there with me this entire podcast.
I want to speak in full sentences by the end of this thing.
Absolutely. What up, Nick Diaz? Thanks for joining us, saying what's poppin'. have a good morning or afternoon wherever you guys are at. So yeah, let's just jump right into it with Dynasty QBs. The top three of note, names of note, would be Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, if I can even say that right. Tagovailoa. Okay, I knew I wasn't going to say it right. I tried to even spell it phonetically, and I just messed myself up dyslexically.
Yeah, I mean, just say it the best you can and just roll with it.
Tua.
It doesn't roll off the tongue of Iloa. Come on.
And Justin Herbert to the Chargers. So let's just start with those top three. For dynasty purposes, where do you have them? Do you have them in that order, the way that I listed them, or do you have one going higher than the other?
Believe it or not, because of the landing spot with the Green Bay Packers, I've actually got Jordan Love at 3 for long-term success.
Long-term dynasty. Okay.
Dynasty purposes.
I can see that.
I've actually got Love. They moved up in the first round, and they just went to the NFC Championship game last season. I don't necessarily think – I mean, he's going to eventually supplant Rodgers as the successor. You don't take a quarterback in the first round. Move up to go get one. In particular, if you just went to the NFC Championship game, unless this kid is a part of your plans. Mm-hmm. So I've got Love at 3. I just don't believe in Herbert. I'm just, as much as I want to believe in the kid, and it's even a decent landing spot there in Los Angeles with the Chargers. He has more value this year than Jordan Love does, obviously. But, I just, long-term, I believe they'll be able to develop Jordan Love in that system with Matt LaFleur than I do with Justin Herbert, who I just see a whole bunch of red flags in his game. So him, Tua Tagovailoa at 2, and then, of course, Joe Burrow at 1.
Yeah, definitely. The top 2, I think, are right there for dynasty rankings for me as well, with Burrow and then Tagovailoa. I mean, you kind of said it best right there, though, with – you're going to get more usage immediately, obviously, out of Herbert this year. So I kind of like him in super flex leagues as your second QB. Getting him super late could be a good option just because he has so many weapons. He's going to have to hit pay dirt at some point with those receivers. He has to.
You would think, you would hope. It's just the fact that they took him at number 6 overall. I still think that Herbert was someone that really needs to be groomed and the offense tailor-made around him. Not to say that they won't try to do things to highlight what he does well in this offensive system. Hopefully they do. And yeah, I like Mike Williams. I like Keenan Allen. I like Hunter Henry. I like Austin Eckler. I mean, on paper, it looks great. I just don't get the warm and fuzzies when it comes to Justin Herbert. There's just something in my gut that tells me this kid is going to be, when he gets under pressure, which that's going to happen with him at Los Angeles as a rookie, because you don't take somebody 6 overall unless you plan on playing him probably this year. I don't know. I just see some red flags that really scare the living shit out of me. If he's pressed into action a little bit too early, it could ruin his confidence and really make for a rough start to his career. To me, again,
I don't know why
I'm completely wrong.
I don't know why I love it when you say the phrase "scares the living shit out of me." It's one of my favorite things.
I mean,
I don't know why.
Scaring the shit out of me at the current moment,
No, I know, but I don't know why. I think
below the camera view right here.
Oh, we don't know, but I don't know why. I just find that so funny. I mean, okay, so currently we are in an active rookie draft right now, and obviously they went where they did, but when you're in other leagues and as you're building for these drafts and all that, they're all structured so differently. How do you feel like but I should better say, what's too soon to take someone like Burrow off the board? If the rookies are mixed into a draft and you're drafting right now, let's go ahead and just throw Dynasty in there too.
Okay.
What's too soon for you to take Burrow?
So if we're talking redraft, just this season, I'll start there. I mean, Dynasty, he's the number 1 player off the board in a super flex, in my opinion. He's the number 1 guy on my rankings board. But when we're talking about just redraft this season, non-2 quarterback leagues, just, standard formats, I have him somewhere around round 10. Okay. He's going to have those peaks and valleys similar to someone like Kyler Murray his rookie season. He's got a ton of talent. He's got some nice pass catching options on the outside. I just there's offensive line issues, there's team issues on the defensive side, a lot of throwing opportunities, but also a lot of opportunities to make mistakes and turn the football over. So that's right around the 10th. He's a nice streaming option in his rookie season with some upside later in the year.
Okay. I just wanted some validation at where I took him. It's about where I took him in another draft, so I feel better now. So I appreciate that.
You get the warm and fuzzies about it now?
I do, and I feel better. I was worried that I took him too soon, but I mean, I think when you're sitting in drafts where the rookies are mixed in, it can get a little bit, you get trigger happy with wanting to take these QBs because we're so excited about their potential, but we don't want to take them too soon and miss out on obvious players that we know are going to produce right off the bat.
Burrow is going to take I think he's going to get off to a slow start. In particular, you take into consideration that the off-season programs right now with the coronavirus pandemic, it's not allowing rookies to get in there and get those essential snaps to really hit the ground running when training camp starts. So they're going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball in the preseason. Who knows if they even had preseason games this year? So Burrow may get very limited reps in a brand new offense with brand new teammates. It's just a lot to ask of him to put up those type of fantasy numbers that's going to be reliable on a week-to-week basis early on. But once he gets it, similar to how he did at LSU, the sky's the limit. It's just, I think he's more of a late bloomer in his rookie year.
Yeah. That makes sense. I can see that for sure. All right. Well, let's go ahead and just jump right into our QB rankings debate, shall we?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Look at that. Look at that little. That's beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Cue the cute graphic. Yay, After Effects. We're getting there.
I don't know how to do After Effects. You do. Anyway, if there's an After Effects rankings on this show, you top the list.
Barely. That's literally my After Effects is I can complete a pass, but that's if like my receiver's 10 yards away. That's the equivalent right there of exactly what I can do in After Effects.
You're a game manager. That's fine.
I'm a ball manager at best when it comes to After Effects. That's a really great analogy, actually, but it's very true. Let's go ahead and start off with the top of the rankings, which are the numbers 1 and 2 quarterbacks that go off of everyone's board. And a lot of people will take one first, one will take the other. We got to talk about Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. I mean, they are obviously league winners at their best, and at their worst, still pretty damn good. Still top 5 QBs. I don't know that they have a worst. I don't want to see them at their worst. They've just been fantastic. So when you're pulling them off the board right now for 2020, who are you taking ahead of the other, Mahomes or Jackson?
So really, if you're spending this type of draft capital on them, which means even in a 1 QB standard format, you can
see one in round 1, maybe.
You may see somebody take one at the end of the first round. I mean, they're both young superstars under center that, like you mentioned, are league winners if everything's clicking.
Yeah.
More than likely, these guys are going to be off the board by the time the 4th round comes around.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I would say both of them are probably off the board. So I start asking myself, who do I feel more comfortable investing a 2nd or 3rd round pick in if I'm going to go quarterback early? To me, the answer is Patrick Mahomes. And it has nothing to do with Lamar Jackson and what he's accomplished, with his first full season as a starter, because similar to Mahomes, he got a taste of it in his rookie season, had a little bit more experience actually than Mahomes in his rookie season, but he exploded onto the scene, and he was defenses had no answer for Lamar Jackson. But as far as, you consider that Patrick Mahomes threw for 4,000 yards despite having a dislocated knee at 20 in the season.
Well, they popped it right back in there. If you guys all saw the tape.
You make it sound like a power part.
It was also not like it wasn't his knee, it was his kneecap. It was just the top part. See, it was just the tip. So he was fine. Like he could still run. It was just a bit weird and, disheartening for all of us to watch that happen.
It's interesting that you brought up running, because what scares me about investing that type of draft capital in Lamar Jackson is the fact that, he set the single season rushing record for a quarterback, breaking what Michael Vick did back in 2006. And he did it in 15 games. So clearly he's one of the most dynamic weapons in the National Football League with the ball in his hands, period. He's he's probably one of the fastest players in the entire league.
Yeah.
And he's a quarterback that's, led the league in touchdown passes. So he's the ultimate weapon. It's just durability.
Durability is very scary for me with him too.
That's the concern. That's the only concern I have with Lamar Jackson. And I give the nod to Mahomes because Jackson, with what he does rushing on his rushing floor, actually probably gives you a better weekly floor than what Mahomes even does. But Mahomes is a more advanced passer, has better pass catching options in a landslide with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce alone.
Yeah.
But, the durability thing is the tiebreaker for me.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that. I mean, I think for me, I don't want to say I've seen it from Mahomes, but I just feel like the progression that we've seen over the last 2 years with Jackson and just the level of play and the way that he raises his game year after year, and that chip on his shoulder is just going to keep getting bigger. I would be scared to not take Lamar Jackson this year. I just think that he is going to outperform what he did last year. Maybe he can't beat the rushing record, but I think he could beat the touchdowns. So I think just that level of, fever that he has for that championship, I want to have that on my fantasy team. If I had to pick between the two, if I'm going to pick someone, early on, if I'm going to take a QB early, which I rarely do, it would have to be Jackson.
He had 5 100-yard rushing games last season. 5 at quarterback in 15 games. I mean,
gives me the warm and fuzzies.
His ceiling is higher than Mahomes.
Yes.
So if you're wanting to hit just like a grand slam and you're saying, you know what, I'm taking a quarterback, which one is going to have a greater chance of winning me a league? Jackson has the higher ceiling with his rushing output. I'm just, as a passer, though, it's more so that's what it's basing it around. And again, quarterbacks taking hits. I mean, we saw Mahomes get hurt last year, and Mahomes got hurt on a fluky quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how much more Jackson gets hit than Patrick Mahomes. So that's the counter argument. I'm saying that Mahomes has a similar ceiling, but the amount of hits that he takes and exposure to injuries potentially is why I give the nod to Mahomes.
No, I get that. I just feel like the coaching staff there within Baltimore has just really, brought the level of game up year after year. And I feel like the next round of, classes going to school, protect yourself. And that's going to be something that they're going to be drilling into him, for your longevity to get through. I think that they're going to teach him how to, you got to, these stunt actors that are in all our movies that we love, like they have to learn how to fall. I think they're going to teach him how to get hit better and also protect himself. They have to.
How can you teach?
You can teach it.
Jackson, who just set the single season rushing record for a quarterback, how do you tell him to slide? I mean, how do you go walk in there and be like, look, dude, you just had the best season of any quarterback in recent memory. By the way, we need you to slide more. I mean, yes, you'll say it, but how receptive is he to it?
Maybe it's a reward system. Maybe it's like you get a cookie if you slide every once in a while. Maybe.
It's so pay to play. Incentive-based slides.
Oh, I could totally see that. That would work for me. I would do that. I would listen.
Make a graphic for that. Incentive-based slides.
Yes.
Propose this to Lamar Jackson.
Love it. Tyler's joining us. What up, Tyler? Agree with Tate, even though Lamar Jackson was my QB last year when I won. Mahomes definitely has more functional offense, and you got to think that Lamar Jackson won't be able to replicate a God mode season. Yeah, it's hard to imagine that he could top last year, but I just feel like they're changing the way he plays, and they're just making him play smarter. And I just feel like we saw that happen last year, because before we thought, okay, well, he can't throw. He's just going to keep running. Well, he can throw just fine now. So I think that it's just going to be another level up.
What about the Madden curse? Does that bother you at all?
No, that doesn't bother me at all.
It's real sometimes.
It's real sometimes.
I know. I didn't even say that with much confidence.
Yeah, it's real sometimes.
I'm calling myself out on it, quarterback.
Again, guys, if you're just tuning in, the drinking word is quarterback. We are sorry, as we are talking quarterbacks today.
Stop saying it.
My bad.
I can't keep up and be tanked.
My bad. I'm sorry. All right, so
you have Lamar at 1. I have Mahomes at 1, and you just flipped the order for the number 2 spot.
Absolutely.
So but where do you go with 3? Like 3, 4, and 5, I think that there's a tier to this. So with
3, 4, and 5
Lamar and Mahomes are kind of that elite tier, right? That you're going to have to spend early round draft capital to get on your roster. But Dak, Russell Wilson, and Deshaun Watson, to me, are that next tier. So, I mean, and maybe you have somebody else at 3, but I'm interested to see which direction you would go with the top 5. If like Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are off the board and you don't like anybody else at this point, so you're willing to take a quarterback, who's the third one off the board?
You know, it sucks because normally Watson would be my immediate hands down number 3. However, we all know he lost a very important piece to his puzzle in DeAndre Hopkins. So just just that guy that caught like everything last year. That was amazing. Like all of our favorite receivers. Yeah. He lost him. So that really, to me, eats into his value. Obviously, Watson is a fantastic playmaker. He can make a play happen getting kicked in the face. We saw it happen. You know, he can complete a pass even without seeing where his receiver is. He knows he's an amazing player. I just don't have that confidence in his weapons. So, I mean, I'm hoping for a rebirth of David Johnson. I'm definitely hoping. I'm on that train. But am I on the train of taking Watson where I would have last year? No, I'm absolutely not. He's dropping for me. So for me, that number 3, I have to kind of go back and forth between Prescott and Wilson. I do love the, fancy new toy that Prescott got in Lamb. So I'm very excited for that. And I feel like he has a little bit better options there. But I'm also excited for the growth and hopefully, again, big season burst to get out of Metcalf for Russ Wilson. So they're close for me, but I might give the edge to Prescott.
So I pretty much agree with exactly where you're going with this. Dak Prescott to me is the number 3 fantasy quarterback heading into the 2020 season. Look, Dak has been chronically underrated and underappreciated even in the fantasy community since he came into the league. I mean, look, he's never had a season where he's finished outside the top 12 at his position, even his rookie season.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and now what have we seen? I want to compare Dak to Russell Wilson because they came into the league as game managers, right? At least in my opinion. They came into the league as game managers, but that can extend plays with their legs, and they can really just create all kinds of issues if they just decide to tuck the ball and run. But now we've seen them continue to evolve as passers. And, Wilson is, in my top 5 pretty much every single season now. And the same should be for Dak because we saw him finish second in passing last year to only Jameis Winston as far as yards thrown for. I mean, he threw for 30 touchdown passes last season and alone. So when it comes to Dak, his floor now with the likes of CeeDee Lamb, and by the way, I saw some issues with Ezekiel Elliott. I don't think that they're going to build this offense necessarily through Zeke anymore. I mean, they gave Dak another weapon.
They did.
Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup. That's one of the best trios in the National Football League.
Yeah, I'm liking it.
So for that reason, and I think that the defense is going to continue to struggle there in Big D. So if Dak's going to have to continue to toss the ball all over the yard to keep him competitive, he's got the weapons to do so now, and he's been productive. So Prescott, to me, gets the nod at the 3 spot strictly because of his progression throughout his entire NFL career and the fact that they added what I think is an elite outside option in CeeDee Lamb.
No, I completely agree. I love the weapons. I love CeeDee Lamb. They're going to open it up. And I also like the idea that they're not building this team entirely around Zeke anymore, who, as we have seen, is a volatile player. So rather than, attaching your wagon to something that could explode, I'd rather attach it to someone that's a bit more solid like Dak Prescott.
Yo, Zeke was probably chilling in Cabo, sipping on mojitos when he was holding out for his contract.
Oh, yeah.
What would be your drink of choice in Cabo?
In Cabo, margaritas. Hands down margaritas, for sure. Yeah. Gotta be margaritas.
I'm not a marg guy.
I love margaritas. I do love mojitos, and I have been drinking more rum lately. Maybe it's because I feel like I've got cabin fever and I'm trapped on an island at my house because we're all in quarantine. But I do love it.
You are not chilling in your backyard. I mean, it seems like a pretty exotic backyard.
Yeah, I do have an awesome avocado tree, but the avocados are now all gone, so that makes me sad.
What's an avocado? Kidding. I know what an avocado is.
Because you're in Cadillac, Michigan. I understand.
Green is not for me here in Cadillac, but anyway. So we're talking. So I got Dak, Russell
At 3.
Wilson. Look, because Russell Wilson. What's not to like about Russell Wilson? I mean, they add Greg Olsen, which is a nice, solid veteran tight end that can still do some things in the red zone. I don't think he's going to have a breakout year or anything like that. But you mentioned DK Metcalf. You mentioned Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett, one of the
still there.
Top 25 wide receivers in the National Football League, with him being able to move around and push opposing defenses vertically. And Russell's just a winner. So I can't have him not at 4. And Watson, he's finished.
Does he fall to 5? He falls to 5? I just feel bad.
Look, he's finished last 2 years as the quarterback 4. And some of that definitely had to do 100% with DeAndre Hopkins. But I also don't want to say, oh, he doesn't have D-Hop, so he's going to be screwed now. Look, Russell Wilson hasn't had a true number 1 wide receiver pretty much his entire NFL career, and he chronically finishes inside the top 10. Watson did get Brandon Cooks. I know we want to overlook that, but they did acquire Brandon Cooks, and Watson is a great deep ball thrower. Yeah. So I don't see him falling off of a cliff. No. It's just, Watson doesn't have his blankie anymore.
Which is not good for me. As a Dynasty owner who's had Watson for years now, I just feel so shook. So shook. My guy, my boy doesn't have his toys anymore. He's all sad, and I don't know what to do, and I just want to be happy, and I don't want to let go of my guy. But I might let go of him.
It's like Andy's going away to college and has to leave Woody and Buzz behind. It sucks.
How dare you?
Am I hitting the heartstrings?
Yeah.
Sorry. I didn't mean to.
I mean, we all know I can't cry, but the water turns on in the eyeballs sometimes. So
the last recent Toy Story 4 to watch Woody decide to move on, it was a little tricky.
I haven't seen Toy Story 4. Spoiler alert.
Well, just go ahead and watch it.
How dare you?
Do you not have Disney Plus? What's wrong?
I do. I'm in the middle of a Marvel movie marathon, not to take us completely off the rails, but I did just watch Black Panther last night. I've only got 6 movies left in that marathon.
Wakanda forever.
So good. I love watching Black Panther 2 with Knox because obviously he's a black cat. And so every once in a while I'll just look at him and be like, you're Killmonger, aren't you?
I just can't say Wakanda forever like Chadwick Boseman does.
Wakanda forever. Yeah, no, nobody can. That's why we use GIFs. Yes. I love this comment from Dried Ocean. Thanks for joining us, Dried Ocean. Bold take, Josh Allen ends top 5 QB this season. I think that takes us nicely into the next kind of tier of quarterbacks that we were discussing.
Yep.
How do you feel about Josh Allen? We have kind of him up against Kyler Murray right now in our next segment.
So
you give the edge to?
At 6, I've actually got Drew Brees right before these 2.
Okay. But that's okay. We understand. It's Drew Brees.
Let's not disrespect Drew Brees here.
No disrespect to Drew Brees at all. We love Drew Brees.
27 touchdown passes in 10 full games. Like, the dude can still absolutely tear it up. And he's still got some of the best weapons. They added Emmanuel Sanders. So he's still got some of the nicest weapons in the National Football League. So I have Drew at 6. So now it gets to Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. I was wrestling with this for a while. I truly was. Because both of these guys have upside for days. Allen is basically is Cam Newton 2.0, just not as evolved as a passer, though.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And it's not that he's terrible. It's just that he's doesn't represent that same upside. Cam, threw for 4,000 yards in his rookie season. Josh Allen, I've got him behind Kyler Murray at 8. Do you know how many 270-yard passing games he had last season? I'm asking you. No. 0. Zero. Nada. Not a damn one. And you also know how many games he rushed for over 60 yards last season?
No.
0.
Ooh.
Nada. Zilch.
That's
of
not
course.
tasty.
He is a red zone. He is a goal line threat to punch the ball in with his legs because he's a monster. Love Josh Allen. And I even there's a reason why I have him in 8, because I like the fact that they brought in Stephon Diggs.
Yes, I love Stephon Diggs for him.
Diggs and John Brown. It's a nice combination. It really is. And I expect Dawson Knox, who is a tight end that a lot of people aren't talking about. If he can hold on to the football, Knox actually is a tight end sleeper option. But the reason why I've got Kyler Murray at 7, and I think he's the better breakout candidate than Josh Allen, because that's really what we're drafting them for, is their breakout potential.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray had 5 games where he threw for over 300 yards in the air raid offense, and they just added, and no offense to Stephon Diggs, but DeAndre Hopkins does a lot more for a quarterback than Stephon Diggs does. So that air raid offense, Murray, 300 yards passing 5 or more times to Josh Allen 0. Not to mention, it's not being mentioned how dynamic Kyler can be on the ground. He rushed for 60 or more yards on the ground in 3 games last year. So you can make an argument that he's just as much of a rushing threat as Josh Allen is. So he gives you the same upside, but with better weapons, and he's just a better natural passer in a air raid system.
Yeah.
For that reason, I give Kyler Murray the nod ahead of Josh Allen.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fantastic point. And when you weigh out their weapons, you have to look at, you can't ignore the Hopkins factor. I mean, he just is a complete game changer to have in that offense. And like you said, this is an offense that's designed to throw the ball and to have that volume of passes. And what do we say in fantasy that we love is volume. And that's what you're going to get when you get someone like Kyler Murray. Now, I do think that Josh Allen is going to have a turnaround season. So, I mean, I'm tempted to put him above Kyler just for a couple of the reasons that you brought up, but it is splitting hairs for me. And I feel like just with volume, potential, yards, obviously, I gotta give it to Kyler Murray. I've got to. But I do love the Stephon Diggs ad for Josh Allen. I think that is going to improve his game immensely.
And Dried Ocean brings up a great point that Josh Allen doesn't have a 300-yard passing game in his entire career. I'll counter that with the fact that who has he really had as a number 1 wide receiver in his entire NFL career?
Yeah, he hasn't really had anyone.
I mean, he hasn't really had a time. I mean, John Brown is no slouch, nice veteran receiver. I love John Brown. Nothing wrong. I'm not talking shit about Smokey. I'm just saying that now you add Stephon Diggs, I think that you'll have some boom games from Josh Allen. But if you look at these two guys as just pure passing prospects, Murray's the better passer. And I'm not sure I think it's close. I mean, the arm talent, sure. I mean, you can make the argument that Allen can throw it farther, but I mean, who gives a shit about that? It's about playing quarterback between the ears. So, to me, it is more so Kyler with a slight bump in upside. So I'm glad that we see that eye to eye.
Yeah, definitely. Tyler sees eye to eye as well, as he says Kyler. He's all in on Kyler this year. But I do like the dynamic of, and we can talk about that when we go over our wide receivers, probably next week or the week after, just how dynamic it will be to have John Brown play up off of Stephon Diggs. That is just going to be a great combo. And as we'd like to say is one receiver is going to open up the other. Love the opportunity there. That's going to be fantastic. So, okay, we have Kyler Murray, we have Josh Allen. Who's next on your rankings? And I feel like someone who's fallen down a little bit for me is Aaron Rodgers. Has taken a little bit of a slide down our rankings. Isn't he normally? He normally is a little bit higher. I feel like we would have talked about him before.
Well, do you think that there's going to be a little bit of discontent there in Green Bay, just a bit, by drafting his successor after he helped take them to the NFC Championship game last year? Now, this can go one of two ways. Rodgers, it can motivate him and say, to hell with y'all. I'm going to go ahead and prove that y'all made the wrong decision. And if I play somewhere else, then good luck finding somebody that's as good as me. Mm-hmm. Balls out this year.
Yeah.
Or he can take it as a slight, which is you took the two most productive positions on the team last year were myself at quarterback, if I'm acting as Aaron Rodgers, and then Aaron Jones as well, who scored 20 touchdowns, only 20 touchdowns last season. And you draft a running back as opposed to a wide receiver to complement Devontae Adams, and give me another option that can win on the outside. Because Adams is going to demand all kinds of bracket coverages and double teams.
Yeah.
So if I'm Aaron Rodgers, we don't know how that situation is going to play out. And by the way, I know that we talked about Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. Do you still have Drew Brees as a top 8 quarterback?
Yeah, I do. I definitely love the addition of Sanders to balance out Michael Thomas. I feel like Brees is just a fine wine. He's good all the time.
They're talking about like Taysom Hill being the successor.
No, I think that
Jameis Winston, like, come on.
I don't honestly. Winston's only signed a 1-year deal. He's only going to get an extension if he has given the opportunity, and the only time he's going to get opportunity is if Brees gets hurt. If Brees gets hurt and Winston shows up and he actually performs, we see that the eye surgery went well. He can complete a pass. Then maybe he'll get an extension. But I think he's just there to learn under the tutelage of Drew Brees and to hopefully just get better.
By the way, did you notice that ESPN actually turned Taysom Hill into a tight end?
I did.
Eligible player? What the hell is that? Bullshit. That's such bullshit. I mean, I get it. Like his snaps, he gets a ton of snaps per game. Like, so at wide receiver or like a H-back or some shit. But wait, you can start him as a tight end now? I mean, is he in the conversation for like a top 15 tight end?
I have no idea. I just know that I just dropped him in one of my leagues, and I'm like, wait, what?
Holy shit.
So random. He's just a wild card. There's going to be random Taysom Hill talk throughout 2020 season, and it's just going to be like, oh, yeah, those that started Taysom Hill in a daily at tight end really lucked out this week, and it's going to be, what? And then you're going to see nothing again for a little while. It's just
that's
a
weird.
blip.
That's weird.
It is very weird. It's like an orbit of a planet.
You were asking about Aaron Rodgers. I have Aaron Rodgers just outside my top 10. That's weird. That's really
weird. It is weird. I feel like it's because I do have Wentz above him. Someone we haven't talked about much is Matt Ryan. I feel like he gets forgotten.
I got Matt Ryan as my next quarterback. He's at 9 for me.
Right? I mean, I don't want to put. I mean, Tom Brady's never. He's obviously. I'm gonna change the way I said that. Rewind. Tom Brady's a fantastic quarterback. Obviously, he's the GOAT. He's wonderful. However, in the last couple of years, he hasn't been super beneficial to fantasy owners because he's so efficient in passing, he doesn't have the volume that you get from other quarterbacks in the number of throws he has to do. He is like a surgeon in that he's calculated. He throws like a scalpel, cuts, and he's just very accurate, which is great. You want that in your quarterback for NFL purposes, but for fantasy value, you want someone that's going to have lots of yards, lots of passes, lots of completions, all that fun stuff. So for me, because of the new weapons that Tom Brady has this coming season, you're wearing the Bucs hat. I know that you're excited. I'm trying to move him up, and I don't. Is that weird to put Rodgers behind Brady? Am I weird? Am I just going crazy?
I don't think it's weird, strictly because who has better weapons? Who does? I mean, that answer is easy. I mean, it's definitely Tom Brady.
It's definitely Tom Brady.
I mean, Gronk, and then you got the two Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, which is arguably
they're pretty good at catching the ball
just a little bit. So in particular for me, the answer to that question is I don't see anything wrong because I literally have Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady right next to each other in my rankings, like literally right next to each other, and it's like almost feels like an emotional decision. Like it's emotionally taxing on me to try to tell myself who's the better fantasy quarterback for this upcoming year. Is it Rodgers or Brady? There's some tough decisions here. So I want to make my case about Matt Ryan though at number 9.
Yeah.
Keep in mind with Aaron Rodgers last year, and this is the reason why it's weird, but maybe justified as far as who to rank where. Rodgers only had 4 games last season where he threw for over more than 300 yards. Do you know how many Matt Ryan had last year?
No.
11.
Wow.
11 games last year where he threw for more than 300 yards. So
those are yards you want as a fantasy owner.
Exactly. I'm not saying that Matt Ryan's a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. Like, I'm not. But again, fantasy production, Ryan tosses the ball over the yard and is efficient when doing so. Mm-hmm. And he's got great weapons on the outside with, Julio, Calvin Ridley, and you lose Austin Hooper, but you replace him with Hayden Hurst. I mean, I don't know what to expect from Hayden Hurst, but the point is you still got Julio. Yeah. So I fully expect that Matt Ryan is still going to be tossing the ball all over the yard. And he's going to be efficient and productive while doing so. With the Packers, they draft Aaron Rodgers' successor, and they don't give him any additional help on the outside.
You hate to see it.
You really hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
Just food for thought at the quarterback spot. I already said quarterback because I want to drink. So anybody else still with us, have a drink with me.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it just sucks to see that happen.
It's not fair. It's
not
really
fair. It is not fair. It's really not fair. But moving on to, I guess, these would be outside the top 10 quarterbacks, that next tier, that next range of quarterbacks. And this is where in just a regular redraft league, I would question, because once 10 go off the board, I feel like you're kind of not necessarily throwing darts, but you're gambling on a lot of these guys. Would you take a Joe Burrow ahead of any of the players that we're going to list next?
No. I mean, I would still say that I expect a certain level of production. Again, the off-season program thing with reps, I think comes into play here a little bit to start the season. Again, Burrow is a great streaming option towards the back end of this season because they're going to be playing from behind. And once he gets the reps and gets accustomed to his new teammates, I think Burrow will be very productive. But until then, we don't really know. So what I do know is that Aaron Rodgers is still a very good quarterback. I know that Tom Brady has some of the best weapons in the National Football League. And I know that Carson Wentz, you mentioned Carson Wentz briefly, but they just added, he's one of the best deep ball throwers in the National Football League. And they just added two of the most explosive deep threats in this draft with the well-known Jalen Reagor and then the other not so well-known Quez Watkins. These two guys can absolutely book it. And then you got that with Deshaun Jackson, and we don't know if Alshon Jeffrey is going to be on the roster or not. But, I mean, you gave a lot of help to Carson Wentz.
You did.
So, and Wentz was productive regardless of the shit that he was thrown to at the very end of the season. Still got Zach Ertz, still got Dallas Goedert. That's why I give the nod to Carson Wentz, because they added talent that really suits his best skill set well.
I'm doing quarterback math right now. Sorry.
It's okay. I was told there would be no math, but go ahead.
Yeah. I said quarterback, by the way. Did say that. It's so mean for me to not be drinking and then just call you out.
You're basically being the puppeteer here. Like,
I know. I'm so mean. That's terrible.
I told you to drink.
All right. So in a standard league, 12-team league, quarterbacks are all off the board in this hypothetical scenario. Right. So if it's a single QB league, maybe that's kind of where that stops. We don't know how deep your league is, but I'm just curious as to if it's a super flex league. We've gone through the top 12. When would you start, stacking up, and how would you rank these second quarterbacks? A la Matt Stafford, Phillip Rivers, Jimmy Garoppolo, Ben Roethlisberger, Baker Mayfield. Where do you next want them? And would you prefer someone like Burrow over any of them? Like, what's your line?
So I'll give you my rankings and the guys that I have ahead of Burrow.
Okay.
In a 2 QB league. So I'll just to give you context, I've got Matt Ryan at 9, Wentz at 10, Rodgers at 11, and TB12 at 12, Tom Brady at 12.
That's cute.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was poetic. So, but at 13, I got Matty Stafford was really good last year until he got hurt.
Yeah, until he broke his back.
until yes, he broke his back. But Stafford was and has always been very productive, with the exception of maybe a season or two where he didn't really have a whole ton of help. But Stafford was really, really, really good last season with this cast of characters. Expect him to continue to be a top 15 quarterback. And I feel like I can take that to the bank. Jared Goff is a tough one because I have him at 14, and on paper, they've still got plenty of talent on offense.
Yeah.
And
still love Cooper Kupp.
Sean McVay is still one of the best play callers in the National Football League. Or, as far as his scheming and his concepts, like I still really like Jared Goff. I think he's going to be up and down, but Goff is still going to be productive in a very productive offense. At 15, let's not forget the last time that we saw this man, he was a top 5 quarterback, and that's Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, I get that he doesn't have Antonio Brown. I understand that. But I actually still, under the radar, really like some of their pass catching options. I love Deontay Johnson. Dude is silky smooth. Like, I'm serious. Like, almost think of the shampoo, Johnson & Johnson. Like, I mean, this silky smooth. Like, that's how you feel when you watch him play.
Yeah.
And Juju, he'll bounce back. I feel very confident that Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be just fine. You drafted Chase Claypool to go along with James Washington, and you added Eric Ebron to go with Vance McDonald. Like, I actually still like this offense with a healthy Ben. So I got Ben at 15, and then I've got Joe Burrow because right behind him I've got Ryan Tannehill, who I don't trust. No. Admittedly, I don't trust his ass. And in particular, if they don't get something done with Derrick Henry, we're going to find out just how good Ryan Tannehill really is.
Yeah.
So, so you got Tannehill. Personally, this is another like pseudo maybe 2 QB league debate. Drew Locke versus Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Who's got more upside? I mean, look at
I love the weapons for Locke. I'm so excited for those. And I feel like Baker was just the biggest disappointment last year. The Browns were a big disappointment. But when did they not? I mean, I'm a little bit biased. Just a little bit.
The Browns still have.
They still have really
David Njoku, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry. They've still, and then, 2 very competent running backs.
Yeah,
Kevin Stefanski's system, though, doesn't feel like it bodes itself to a fantasy breakout quarterback.
No.
It's more based around running the football.
Yeah.
So, in particular for me, that's why I give the nod to Drew Locke, because your boy Drew, man. I mean, God, they've got so many weapons there now. I like them. I love what John Elway did. Love it.
I know. I'm super excited about him too. It's tough for me trying to figure out where I slot Joe Burrow in at this spot because I'm not as high on Matt Stafford. Just because I feel like, to me, once you have a certain number of injuries, I do not want you on my team anymore because I feel like you're too prone. And once, to me, you break your back, other people that have broken their back and had anything going on back like there, any back pain is so lingering and it's so debilitating. It worries the hell out of me to have that on my quarterback in my league. So I don't want any part of that. So for that reason that he drops quite a bit for me, I do still like Jared Goff's weapons. I'm very excited about my Steelers this year. I feel like this is going to be a comeback year for us. Very excited about Chase Claypool. And all the Steelers moves that have happened this offseason have shored up the fact that Ben is the guy. We're confident in his health. We're confident in his arm, and he's our plan. So they didn't make any moves that would suggest otherwise in that. They've got some insurance policies, sure, but they didn't make a move like the Packers did with Love to Rodgers. They didn't make that kind of move.
Right.
They are 100% behind their guy. So I'm loving how that is. So I feel like if anything, it might be, this is so hard because I'm dropping Stafford down. Jared's still pretty high up for me.
Well, I mean,
Ben
here's the
and
thing.
Burrow.
If you want to go ahead and pair, like, so when we get past the top 10 to 12, right?
We're past 12 now.
You're normally playing in what? 12 team leagues, maybe 10, maybe 14, who knows? But generally you're playing somewhere between 10 and 14. Once you get to the point where you're like the last person to draft a quarterback, which is me in a lot of circumstances, you want to stream them and pair them together. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with like pairing Burrow with someone like Ben Roethlisberger. When Roethlisberger starts the season healthy, I expect him to be very productive.
Sure.
But he continues to have durability issues.
Yeah.
And once Burrow, with a limited offseason, to have some chemistry and reps, and
I can see him. And also, again, because of that late reps, the late practices they're not going to get into. I feel like a lot of these rookies we're not going to see their full potential. I mean, normally we'd see it around game 4. I feel like we're not going to see it around game 6 or 7. I feel like it's going to be very late for these players to really get their feet under them. So I love that combo of Ben with Burrow. Funny,
I'm just saying, like, you can start to combo these guys together. I mean, like a floor guy to me is Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, those are floor guys to me. And then you got your upside guys like Drew Locke. You got Ryan Tannehill, who had a very productive season under center fantasy-wise when he was under center. So, I mean, you can pair them together because, I mean, really, you're not getting one of those top quarterback prospects, at least as far as my rankings go. So go ahead and just pair them together and stream them. Like that's a scenario where I think it's okay to have 2 quarterbacks in the roster.
Absolutely. And if you waited that long on quarterback, you've got so much depth at running back and receiver, hypothetically, that you're not that dependent on them.
Right.
So that makes it. Potentially, unless you really screw up your draft. I don't know how you draft.
I mean, I like to keep people guessing. Sometimes I'll take a quarterback early, and
sometimes you'll trade away your top 3 picks, and I'm just like, is Tate going to take a player?
Hey, I think my dynasty team turned out all right, considering I traded away like 3 of my top 4 picks. The only guy I took was Mahomes, and I'm riding. That's my boy, dude. I love Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry, like. I think this kid's going to be like he's like on a greatest of all time type of trajectory through his 2 seasons of starting. He's got a league MVP, and the next season he followed up with a Lombardi Trophy and a Super Bowl MVP award. I'm a homie guy.
Yeah, rolling with your Mahomes. No, I think that's he's definitely onto that trajectory. He's one of those generational players, and the Chiefs are going to be in for a very good season with CEH on their team now.
I got to ask anybody that is still tuning in live. And again, thank you for everybody that's joining us. We love our fans. Can you go ahead and somebody threw us a draft question last week that was fantastic and ended up turning into this debacle. What are your top 3 cereals?
Yes. The age-old.
Somebody messed up on the graphics and gave me Rice Krispies.
Okay, I love that you're not bitter about it at all.
Hold on, wait. When I said Rice Krispies treats, which I've been waiting all week to sound off on the mic about this. Look, it makes me look like I'm a freaking grandpa that only just wanted like plain ass, boring ass bullshit. Rice Krispies as my pick. When Rice Krispies treats are delicious and fantastic and one of the best cereals of all time, in my opinion. And I got robbed by saying that, like, basically you gave me in the graphic that you posted the equivalent of Akeem Hunt as opposed to Kareem Hunt in fantasy football. Like, that sucks. It hurts. Anyway, does anybody have any questions like that? Draft? Dry Ocean, Tyler, Willie Jenkins. Anybody got anything that we want to draft here real quick?
I love that you hung on to that. And I think it's really funny because I did, you know what? Bucks put Special K with strawberries, and not like fresh cut strawberries, but the strawberry flavored Special K in his lineup. I mean, that's a very grandpa cereal, if you ask me. And then he says, a special way to start your day. I'm not someone.
That's some nursing home shit right there with Special K.
That was some nursing home shit. It was what it was. But we will go ahead and, sign off and hope that you guys are having a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay inside, enjoy the fact that we have football back. start more leagues. I just said yes to 2 more leagues. I don't know why. I think it's because of boredom. So it's going to be a 30-team league for me. It's going to be one of those years where I look back and I'm like, why did I say yes to 10 dynasty leagues? And I started these dynasty leagues this year. It's going to be a really rough one.
You know, you've got a problem when you're having to allot like an hour or 2 hours worth of time to be able to make your waiver claims.
Yeah.
Like on a weekly basis.
No, yeah, it's going to be brutal. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm just hoping we get football so that I get to enjoy all of it. So, guys, stay safe out there. If you want to follow any of us on the social media, Tate makes it nice and easy for you guys. It's at dtater4 on all forms of social. I am at Samantha R. Holt on Twitter and at Sam_awesome on Instagram. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe on our YouTube. We love it. We appreciate it. Give us a little review. And we'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful weekend, guys.
Until next time, later, says the Tater.